Did you know that back in February 1971, Britain completely changed its money system? It's been almost forgotten now, but at the time, it was the biggest national challenge since the end of the Second World War. I'm talking, of course, about decimalisation. Every price tag, every pay packet, and every shop till in the country had to be either modified or replaced altogether to accommodate the new system, the one we have today. So why would a nation throw out centuries of currency and start all over again? How did people keep track of their wages, their savings, and indeed their sense of value? What did it feel like to see your whole way of counting money disappear overnight? And did we lose something more than just shillings and pence? Some people said it was progress, others claimed it would certainly lead to chaos, but it mattered because it not only changed the way we spent money, it changed how we thought about money, because decimalisation wasn't just about the maths. It required the whole country to adopt a completely new mindset. Oh, and welcome to The Shape of Now with me, Basil Valentine. In this episode, we explore how Britain switched to decimal currency reshaped everyday life, what a huge challenge it was, especially for older people, and what it reveals about the world of banking apps, contactless payments, and cryptocurrency that we live in today. It was indeed the beginning of the digital age. I can promise you it's an absolutely fascinating story, so do please like and subscribe to the channel and feel free to add your memories of this momentous event below in the comments. These stories are what keep history and memory alive. So first up, what did we change from? What was the old system all about? Well, before 1971, Britain's money system was logical to almost no one. It was known as LSD, not because the L looked vaguely like a pound sign, but from the medieval weight of silver. A pound of silver was indeed a pound in money. That goes all the way back to medieval times. That's why Britain's currency is still called sterling, because it was literally a weight of measure and purity of precious metal. In £1, there were 20 shillings, and each shilling comprised 12 pennies. Hence, there were 240 pennies in the pound. It was known as the Carolingian system because it dated all the way back to the Emperor Charlemagne in the 8th century AD. Yes, it really was that old. It was archaic and arcane and had changed only marginally over the centuries. By the Victorian era, we had a hierarchy of coins that felt natural to people from Britain, but really rather eccentric to anyone else. Ask anyone who grew up at the time, and they'll tell you that the coins themselves were unique and characterful. There was a tiny half-penny coin, also known as a halfpenny bit. Pennies themselves were large, solid discs of copper. There was actually a separate coin for 3 pence, known as a threepenny bit. Also shillings, florins, introduced by Queen Victoria herself, which were worth 2 shillings. That was the first attempt to get away from the system that was based on crowns. A crown was worth 5 shillings, and half a crown, 2 shillings and sixpence, and there was a separate coin for half a crown. Yes, it really was that simple. For merchants and traders, there were also guineas, worth £1 and 1 shilling. And I'll tell you where you can still spend a guinea today in 2025. To master the coinage, school children had to learn to add and divide in 12s and 20s, and there was a certain pride in mastering the mental gymnastics required to subtract half a crown from 10 shillings, add twopence, and then a threepenny bit. So let's look at what the old system actually felt like in daily life. Imagine walking into a shop in 1970. A loaf of bread might cost 1 shilling and fourpence. A pint of milk, perhaps eightpence. A magazine, half a crown. Do you follow? Grand total of 4 shillings and sixpence. And when you handed over your 10-shilling note, the shopkeeper would count out the change in a kind of old-fashioned ritual, making sure that you followed every step. To many British people, it was a music that had a rhythm of life to it. But to those from overseas, it was a complete riddle. American visitors claimed it was impossible to calculate. One said it was like trying to do algebra in a fog. Here's Hollywood actor Burgess Meredith, suitably bamboozled by a cab fare. But first, do please like and subscribe to our channel.
Now, how much is it, my good man?
3 and 9pence on the clock, sir.
3 and what?
3 and 9pence.
Excuse me, 3 and 9pence. I see. Now, where is 3 and 9pence? Which is the 3 and 9pence here?
We haven't got a 3 and 9penny coin, sir.
You haven't got a 3
No,
and...
not here.
What's that?
That's half a crown.
That's half a crown.
That's right.
Now, which is the whole crown here?
Well, we don't use them now, sir. The barmaids have cut them all.
Yeah, well, but how do I get 3 and 9 out? How do I get 3 and 9 out of here?
Well, if you like that one, and you can include that one if you're feeling generous.
By the 1960s, Britain looked increasingly at odds with a rapidly modernising world. Every other major economy had already gone decimal. The Americans had dollars and cents. The French had francs and centimes. Even India, once part of the British Empire, had gone decimal with its rupee back in 1957. And so, by the late 1960s, the pressure to modernise Britain's money system had grown impossible to ignore. The banks wanted automation, the Treasury wanted greater clarity, and retailers wanted tills that didn't need all kinds of mental arithmetic just to sell you a basket of groceries. Australia had gone decimal 5 years before Britain, and here's a clip from their conversion programme from the Carolingian system to Australian dollars and cents. It perfectly illustrates just how tricky it was to do the sums the old way.
Shillings and pence. First, 2 halfpennies make a penny. Carry the penny. 5 and 7 and 1 make 13 pence. 12 pence make a shilling. That leaves 1 penny. Carry the 12. That's 1 shilling. 3 and 7 and 1 are 11. Carry 1. 3 ones are 3. That's 31 shillings. 20 shillings make £1. 20 from 31 leaves 11. Carry the 20. I mean £1. 7 and 5 are 12, and 1 is 13. Carry the 1. 3 ones are 3. £33, 11 shillings, and 1 penny. Whew.
British government ministers saw decimalisation as a way to join the modern world. So straight after Australia went decimal, Prime Minister Harold Wilson announced it was time for the United Kingdom to do the same. And so the Decimal Currency Board was set up to plan and execute the changeover. They were given 5 years to retrain an entire country. But here's the twist. Almost nobody wanted it. Polls at the time showed more than half the public were opposed to the change. People said it felt foreign, that it was unnecessary, even that it was an insult to Britain's traditions. One newspaper letter simply read, "If the pound isn't broken, why fix it?" And yet, behind the scenes, the change was absolutely inevitable. Schoolbooks dedicated pages to money sums, valuable learning time that could be spent elsewhere. And how many farthings in a threepence, how many threepences in a crown, and so on, was really totally irrelevant. Tourists in London often gave up and handed over banknotes, trusting the shopkeeper would be honest, sometimes perhaps mistakenly. So while cash registers, typewriters, accountants, and international trade demanded it, decimalisation was nevertheless progress by force, a rational decision forced on an emotional and reluctant nation. By 1969, the training films had begun rolling out on television. Decimal day is coming, they said, but the pound stays the same. That phrase, that the pound stays the same, became a national mantra, repeated endlessly to calm nervous shoppers, consumers, and savers that the pound would remain the same value. As D-Day approached, banks closed for several days to prepare, and finally the big day came, Monday the 15th of February 1971, Decimal Day. And when the shops opened, Britain stepped into the future. Over 6,000 new coins were introduced across Britain with the new denominations printed on them. Every cash till and vending machine, every parking meter had to be converted or replaced. But while many people were initially confused, essentially the change was very simple. As there were 20 shillings in the pound under the old system, and 100 new pence in the pound under the new system, then the old shilling was simply worth 5 new pence, with the emphasis on the new. For a short while after decimalisation, every penny was designated as a new penny. The florin coins, previously worth 2 shillings, overnight became worth 10 new pence, and thousands of new coins exactly the same shape and size as the florins were minted, so the old coins and the new ones became interchangeable. The half crowns were 12.5 new pence, but gradually withdrawn from circulation as Britain was weaned off the old system. A new 7-sided 50 new pence coin was introduced, complete with the Queen on one side and Britannia on the other.
The new halfpenny, the new penny, and the 2 new pence coin. So there they are, the 3 new bronze decimal coins, the half, the 1, and the 2. On February the 15th, they'll be joining the 3 silver decimal coins already in circulation. The 5 new pence we've been using as a shilling, the 10 new pence we've been using as 2 shillings, and the 50 new pence which replaced the old 10-shilling note. So, from February the 15th, Britain goes shopping with 6 decimal coins.
But I can tell you, not everyone was happy. School children went to the sweet shop with a 6-penny coin, only to discover that its spending power had been reduced to 2.5 new pence. One person writing to the Daily Mail said, "I used to know what a bob, that's a shilling, was worth. Now I feel like a fool." Some people tried to carry on paying with the old pennies as if nothing had changed, and others claimed that it was just an excuse to put prices up. All in all, it took about 18 months for the new money to become natural and normal, and of course it did bring benefits. Accounting was made much, much simpler, international trade became easier, and decimalisation was, in that respect, a success. But it also marked the beginning of something much more subtle, something that has had a major impact on the way we view and see money today, and that is a growing detachment from the physical meaning and touch of money. If you're finding this fascinating, then do please like and subscribe and stay with me. So while the story of decimalisation begins in 1971, it certainly doesn't end there. Let's pause for a moment and look first at what was lost. The old coins were tiny works of art. The farthing was worth just 1/4 of a penny, but featured a beautiful etching of a wren. The 6pence, beloved in Christmas puddings for centuries, had been minted continually since 1551, and likewise the threepenny bit dated all the way back to Tudor times. Money had personality. It jingled like memory itself, and while some of the old coinage stayed in circulation for years, the new values assigned to them meant that the magic had gone. People mourned the disappearance of the old coins as if they were friends. In some households, children even made farewell boxes for the coins being withdrawn, tiny coffins and a funeral for a way of life. One interviewee bemoaned the fact that it was like losing the language we grew up speaking, and perhaps she was right, because the change was not only numerical, it was also deeply cultural. In the months after decimalisation, too, prices crept up as it coincided with the so-called barber boom and inflation. Sweets that had cost 3 old pence were now 2 new pence, a subtle rise, but nevertheless one people noticed. The government denied there was any link between decimalisation and price increases, but inflation was rising and decimalisation was a convenient scapegoat for broader economic troubles, but there was no going back. People said they changed the money and everything went up. It wasn't necessarily true, but people felt it was true. My own grandparents continued converting pennies back to shillings for years afterwards, often expressing shock at what they perceived were exorbitant prices. Do you realise that's 17 shillings and sixpence, they used to say. And in economics, feeling is half the truth. Think about it. To change your money is to change your sense of trust. For centuries, the British pound had been a symbol of continuity, something solid, never changing, even when the world shook. Decimalisation had undermined that certainty. If you've ever watched an older person pay cash while everyone behind them in the queue is waiting to tap their phone, then you've seen the scenario play out in modern times. Decimalisation was indeed the start of a monetary revolution, not that we knew it at the time. Decimalisation coincided with the introduction of colour television in Britain, and a number of public information films were made to explain the change over to the public. One of the most entertaining was called Granny Gets the Point, and it illustrated just how emotional it was for a lot of older people to make the change to decimal currency.
Mr. Fisher, it's you.
15 and 3 to you, Mrs. M.
I've only got the new things.
She's only got the new.
Won't be. Take it.
5 and 5's 10 and 4's 14, less 3.95 is 28.17, less exchange commission is 16. I'll have to have another 5 love.
I haven't got it.
It was a real challenge for a lot of people, but in the end, people just about got the hang of it.
It's still sterling, Gran. Sterling's just the name for British money. And the pound's still the pound. It's only the shillings and old pence that are going. So instead of pounds, shillings and pence, we'll simply have pounds and new pence.
Sterling was good enough for the British Empire. Somebody should put their foot down. And there's thousands that will. I never held with strikes and sit-downs and all that sort of thing. But the time has come. I shall have a lay-down protest on my bed until people come to their senses. And if they give me my pension in this new money, I shall give it back to them when it hurts.
So what does decimalisation tell us about the way we use money today? Well, it's fair to say that back on February the 15th, 1971, money moved from the tangible to the logical, the rational. And in the decades since, it's moved from the rational to the invisible. We've gone from coins and notes to checks with guarantee cards, then from cards to chips, and from chips to your phone. Just a tap, a beep, and you're done. And if you don't have the bank app on your phone, well, you really are living in the dark ages and making life unnecessarily difficult for yourself. Decimalisation undoubtedly made money much simpler, but each step towards simplicity has also made it less real. Children today handle fewer coins in a year than their grandparents did in a single day, and most teenagers have probably never seen a £50 note. If it wasn't before, money has now become data, representing a significant shift. Back in 1971, the UK government ran the Royal Mint. Notes and coins were collectively known as legal tender, emblazoned as they still are with the profile of the monarch and all the authority of the crown. Money represented the commercial heart of the British establishment, with banknotes famously emblazoned with the declaration that the governor of the Bank of England himself promised to pay the bearer the sum of the note. It's hard to believe now, but within living memory, we've gone from a currency declaring the King of England also Emperor of India to instantaneous global bank transfers, where transactions belong to whoever owns the platform. Contactless payments track every cup of coffee, every bus fare, every impulse purchase, and that data can be worth more than the money itself. So decimalisation began a process we're still living through today, the detachment of value from the physical touch of money. It prepared us for a digital economy long before the internet existed. You might say that Decimal Day was a rehearsal for Google or Apple Pay. Should we regret it? No, absolutely not. Without it, Britain would be an anachronism. But we should understand its broader meaning. Decimalisation showed how quickly a nation can change when pushed and how easily trust can be redesigned. That lesson is priceless. Here at The Shape of Now, we do not look at the past to wallow in nostalgia, but rather to bring greater clarity and understanding to the present. So do please like and subscribe, and we'll keep bringing you these fascinating stories. Decimalisation reminds us that change often begins with small, tidy words like simplify and ends up by transforming how we think, something we should bear in mind with the possibility of digital ID, because progress always comes with a price, and understanding it is how we stay sane. Our grandparents traded 12 pence to a shilling and called it common sense. We wouldn't countenance such a thing. So next time you tap your phone or swipe your card, do remember that day back in February 1971, when Britain learned that value was an idea and not a pound weight of silver. And finally, where can you still spend that guinea, or rather thousands of them? Believe it or not, at the thoroughbred horse auctions. Yes, up there at Newmarket, if you want to buy a racehorse, the bidding is conducted in guineas, £1 and a shilling. That's £1 and 5 new pence. Thank you for watching The Shape of Now with me, Basil Valentine. If you have any memories of threepenny bits and half crowns or 10 bob notes, then do please leave a comment below. And if you've enjoyed this video, feel free to like and subscribe and have a look at the other content on our channel. I look forward to seeing you all again very soon.